Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Final Whistle. We're back again, and you know when we're back, there's something brewing. So, I got my guys back. Ibn is back. Daniel is back after a while. We got special guests today. We got my boy Chernes. He's gonna give us. Chernes is a Juventus fan, but we're gonna get to that Juventus situation later on. But we got to talk about the Lukaku situation. We got to talk about the Ralph Ragnick situation because we got United fans over here, and then we touch on Juventus and why they're not top of the Serie A. But all right, so let's talk about the Lukaku situation that we were going to lead off with. And listen, I've actually thought about it. Obviously, in the game with Liverpool today, he dropped him. He wasn't even on the bench. He didn't start. He wasn't on the bench. He didn't even travel. I mean, wasn't in the stadium. He was home basically. We know Tuchel. We know he's a no nonsense kind of coach. We've seen him do this before. We've seen him take players off at first halves, and he's a very disciplinary coach. He's really as no nonsense as it comes. The situation, obviously, I'm sure everybody heard about. Like he did the interview, Lukaku. I'm talking about, he did an interview and talking about Inter Milan and how much he loves the fans and how they are the best fans in the world and how much he wants to go back. And it just, the whole interview was very weird. I didn't understand where it was coming from. I didn't understand what he was trying to get at out of it. So it caught me by surprise. But the question I have, and Turner, I'm going to ask you again because as a neutral and you know him, he was in Italy the last 2 years. I'm sure you watched him a few times play against your team or the one, the guy in the Premier League and stuff. I don't know where he was trying to get and what he was trying to get at. I'm sure he did the interview in Italian, so I'm sure the journalist was Italian. I'm sure he probably is an Inter fan that he knew. I think maybe the journalist was an Inter fan, so he was trying to how he's trying to be a buddy with him. Rob, where did you see out of this? Where did that come from?
I mean, the one thing I will say before I say anything, he's getting a lot of heat in Italy right now for that interview. And it's nothing good. You would think, Inter fans the press in Italy is eating him alive right now.
Yeah, didn't they put a banner outside the stadium?
Man, yeah, Italian fans right now, but the press itself, they're giving him a lot of heat, man. There's one guy who does most of Inter's, is one of Inter's main reporters stuff, and he's talking about, he went back to Lukaku's history and says that it hits deep because he says Lukaku is a player that has no character. Every time he gets into a little bit of trouble or things aren't going his way in a club, he looks to get out, and is usually with stuff like what he did there with the interview where he talks about, how he's feeling, how he thinks he's not appreciated. And then the guy goes on to say that you're a good player, but you're not Messi, you're not Ronaldo, you're not these players. And he even went on to say that Inter would have won the Scudetto if without him, they could have had Duvan Zapata, another forward with the same characteristics as the player that he has, and they probably would have still won the Scudetto without him. So right now,
this was after the interview, right? Or
that was after the interview. The Italian press went nuts. So he's getting a lot of heat for it. I do agree with him in that sense. Every time Lukaku in his career has been in a little bit of a hardship at a club, he's quick to switch off and look for a way out, which I understand when he was younger, but now at the point of his career where he's at now, was he 28?
28, yeah.
28, it's kind of hard to do that because you're 28, you're at your prime now. You kind of want to stabilize yourself in a club and just
build some legacy. Yeah,
you're 28. He's been playing since what? He was 15,
18, 17. Yeah.
Yeah, so you've been through enough in your career. Just stick it down. And I don't know about you, but I think Chelsea fans love him, man.
Oh yeah,
it's not like he's not loved there. He's going hard where it goes through. So the interview didn't rub me the wrong way or not because I'm not a fan, but I did see that aspect of it, why in Italy they're not taking it the right way, because it's he left Italy in a bad way. The fans were pissed at him. He kept saying that he was going to stay, he wasn't going to leave, and then in one
That's
week.
where it's coming from,
In
right?
1 week, yeah, it's just like he's like, all right, I'm out. I'm going back to Chelsea to finish like unfinished business, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And he had just finished. And then in Italy, it's very like with the whole like Italy's very historical and traditional, even in their tactics. And like the reason why Del Piero, Nedved, and these players are loved at Juve, when we were at our worst, they didn't leave us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like Inter going through financial hardship, Conte leaves, other players leave. There's changes in the front office, and he just left. You know what I mean? He just left. So they're not gonna. If he were to go back, it's probably best he stays, to be honest, because it's gonna take a while for him to win back the fans in Italy, man.
So, as a Chelsea fan, obviously, I didn't appreciate him coming out talking ill of my team as such. I know most players would always play for the club or play for the badge specifically. But again, trying to go back to listen to the interview itself, I was kind of like confused in sense like how he was giving a response, and I was trying to play back to understand the questions that was being asked of him, and it's not really quite clear as to what exactly he was getting at. And the reality is this: he has a trend of, as Rob already mentioned, like whenever things get hard for him, he just easily just give up. And if you knew for sure that if Chelsea wasn't playing the type of football that doesn't suit your style of play, why sign for Chelsea to begin with? And honestly speaking, ever since he's become a Chelsea player, like I don't really see like the instant impact. I mean, granted, he scored in games here and there, but I feel like we could have done it without him regardless. I'm not going to devalue him as a player, but I still honestly feel like Chelsea could have done this season without him, or even future seasons without him. Overall, do I have any further remarks about his comments about him not being happy at Chelsea and the system not working for him? Absolutely, yes. I can vouch for him, like, because there have been cases where some players can pass the ball easily to him, and he can, dominate and do whatever he wants to do with the ball, but it doesn't happen, and that's part of the game. And, I mean, you have to be able to like feed in your message that you have the players around you, so they can actually believe in you and also be confident in you that you can do whatever you want to do with the ball. So I can't, again, support him for the things that he said in the interview. Because, for example, Werner, right, Timo, when he came in and people were bashing him, he always came out like, listen, I'm not happy with myself. He never said he's not happy with the club. So why can't you just own it up and be like, if you're not performing or if you're not scoring goals, just own up and be like, hey, it's because of me. But you're trying to put the blame on someone else, and then at the end of it all, it kind of like divide the team into sections, and then that will potentially ruin the legacy that Tuchel can possibly build at Chelsea. So right now, it's a matter of, are you one of us or are you out the door? And if you're out the door, just don't talk ill about the team, because the conclusion of the statement was like, oh, I don't like what he's doing, I'm going to play professionally. Like, what is that supposed to mean? It's either you're with the club or leave it alone. So at this point, I don't know what the future looks like for him at Chelsea, but it was my hope that at some point he would retire at Chelsea and build a legacy. But now he's telling us that he's not happy. I don't know what the fans are going to like. I don't know how receptive the fans are going to be of him going forward, honestly speaking.
No. One thing I will say, Yaga, before you go, is I do agree with him when he said that he's not being used the right way. Because for me, I've been saying it. You guys know.
Yeah, that I agree with you. Yeah, we were talking about that
since September, even when he was scoring goals, I just don't think, like Rob, when I watch them, right, I don't think like we use him like the $100 million striker. Like we don't focus on him and play to his strengths. That one I agree with, and I've been saying that for the longest. I think that we need to use him a lot more and make him the focal point in the offense, because I still think he's an excellent player. I really do. I think he's an excellent player, especially in the Premier League, where the physicality is allowed and all that, and he can move his body around. But I still don't think that he's being used right. But even aside of that, you do not go to the press and like that's a bad move. And not just only him talking about Tuchel's tactics and then him talking about going, he dissed the coach, he dissed the club, and then he dissed the fans. Like I don't know. I just didn't understand what he was trying to get at.
Yeah. So basically, this is what I think. I think everything was planned between him and his agent because this interview was done 2 weeks ago, right?
Wow.
Now, why release it at this time, right? I mean, as far as that is, I don't know why they released it at this time, bad timing. But then I think no matter what it is, right, if you feel like the coach is not playing to your strength, you don't question the coach's tactics because before he recovered from his injury, whatever, you guys were winning. You guys were playing well. So as a professional, if your team is winning, why are you complaining, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, when he got back from injury, that's when you guys started, I think the whole month of December is when you guys started having bad results, whatever. So prior to him, doing that interview, you guys were winning. So if the coach is not playing to your strength, of course, as a professional, you have every right to be frustrated. But you don't come out and question his tactics.
Yes,
you know what
that's
I'm trying
the
to say?
problem.
So the whole thing about you talking about you and Inter fans and whatever happened between you and Inter fans. Now, mind you, Inter were in debt, so they needed that money, regardless, right? They needed that money. So if Chelsea comes in with $100 million, they will take it.
Yeah, and that's why Conte left.
Exactly. That's why Conte left in the first place. So now, I mean, I get it. The way he left wasn't good, but then Inter fans are supposed to understand that they needed the money as well, right? And there's nobody in the squad that is worth $100 million at that point by Lukaku. You get it? So it was a good business for them. You left. Okay, you're done. You were the same player stating that, oh, Chelsea is your club. You've always wanted to come back. This is the right time for you to come back. So why is it that when things are not going your way, you want to go to the media and make complaints about questioning the coach's tactics and all that? I just think it's a wrong move altogether. And the timing of them releasing it, because pretty much I don't think Chelsea's the team was aware about him doing the interview. And
I don't think so at all.
Granting interviews,
yeah,
they informed the team and everything. I don't think Chelsea were aware of that interview.
I don't even think he ran it by his agent or like.
That's what I'm saying. It was through the agent because if players are doing interviews and stuff like that, the team is always aware of it. You get what I'm trying to say? The team is always aware of it. Chelsea weren't aware of this interview. And them dropping it, I think it has to do with the agent. Probably he wants his way out, but that's not the best way to do it. That's not the right way to do it. Now you have issues with the Inter fans. You have issues with Chelsea fans.
Horrible, Rob.
They left him out of the squad. I don't know where this is going to go. I don't know. And as you guys stated earlier, I don't think Inter fans want him. And if Tuchel took him out of the squad, I don't know where this is going to end. I think it's a bad move for him. And let's see what happens. I just don't know. But it was bad timing. You disrespecting Chelsea, disrespecting Inter fans, disrespecting your coach as well. That is not a good way to go about it. I don't know.
We'll get into
clearly his agent was aware of it. So that is an agent player move. And I think it's
that's actually interesting because I've never heard that before. I never heard like the agent being a part of it, but that's actually interesting because we'll get into him getting dropped by in the Liverpool game later on, but I kind of want to focus on this interview and then we'll go by whether it was a good decision.
I don't think his agent wasn't aware of it. I'm pretty sure he was aware of it. Because if Chelsea wasn't aware of the interview, you can't tell me Lukaku just granted an interview to an Italian station. The agent has to be aware of it. I'm pretty sure. I mean, we don't know, but I'm pretty sure as an agent, come on, you definitely know your players granting these interviews and stuff like that.
Raiola is his agent, right?
I just think it's a bad move. And
yeah. He definitely was in. Raiola definitely set up that interview.
It's a bad move for Lukaku.
Raiola is
no, that's not Raiola. His agent is
doing the right things right before transfer windows, dude. He's like a mastermind behind this. All the players, like he'll plant seeds in December and wait for them to blossom in January for the transfer window, man. He knows what he's doing. It makes sense what Yaga's talking about. I mean, the January transfer windows right now, there's going to be a lot of movement of strikers this summer. I mean, Mbappe, Morata, Icardi, a bunch of strikers around. Yeah. There's a lot of strikers moving around. So, what Yaga says makes sense. It sounds like the agent made a move, and it wasn't smart by him because he's probably not going to be moved in the January transfer window unless things get really ugly. But now he has to deal with this for the rest of the season, And can he get back to like?
But Rob, do you really think he really wants to leave Chelsea, or do you think what do you think? Is the intent really to like try to move on, or is he trying to put pressure on Tuchel to like say like, hey, I'm not happy? Because I do not think, honestly, right? I do not think he wants to leave Chelsea. I do not think that's what he wants to do. I do not think he actually wants to make a move. I do think that he wants the situation changed at Chelsea, and he wants the team maybe centered more around him, because you can see his frustration when he plays. And actually, when he came from injury, right? When he came from injury, he wasn't even starting him. I think when he came from injury, he came off the bench twice. He was on the bench for like the first 4 games for something. So he was starting to get frustrated even after injury. So I get it. I do not think he wants to move, but I do think he wants to put some pressure on Tuchel.
I agree with that, only because Lukaku is every club he's been at where he's been successful, like let's say Inter, he is what you said. He's $100 million striker. That's what he sees himself as. So you make a good point. He's probably putting pressure on the club. Like, you spent all this money on me this summer.
Use me, yeah.
If you don't use me, I think Lukaku's not. He's like an Ibra, bro. He's not loyal to any club. He's gonna go where he's gonna play. So he's putting pressure on the club, but he letting them know, listen, like, I'm not afraid to move on from here. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you make a good point. I could see that he's trying to put pressure on the club, but I can't think of any like. I'm not gonna say I'm a Chelsea fan, but I enjoy the players that Chelsea has had throughout their history. Like, some of the best sixes that I enjoy is great center backs, great players in general. And I can't really think of Chelsea ever having like a superstar, like a Ibra or Ronaldo or Messi.
Well, maybe players with ego, but because we had Hazard and stuff.
Yeah, when you're a star like that, you're good and you have an ego. Chelsea,
because like the Lampard and the Terrys and them, they were superstars. They were very quiet, right? They weren't out there like that. Yeah.
And even when Chelsea did have players who were known for their egos, like Anelka,
Diego Costa.
Never heard about them. You know what I mean? It was all in house. They had a good locker room.
Well, except for Diego Costa, though. You can't team him.
Diego Costa is another story. But for the most part, Chelsea hasn't really ever had a player like that where they had to deal with that had an ego that was $1 million striker, $1 million.
Yeah.
Chelsea's always been a good club at keeping things like that in house. So I'm sure it rubbed fans the wrong way. I'm sure it rubbed the club the wrong way, but that's something that's gonna have to be fixed in house with like between Abramovich and, I guess, you know what I mean, Abramovich, and it trickles down the chain, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Coaching staff and the players in the locker room.
So honestly speaking, as I said, with the whole approach, it wasn't the right thing to do. Again, him trying to put pressure on the club or put pressure on Tuchel to play him. Yes, you're supposed to do that as a player, but there's a time and place for everything. You just don't go about just pinning the bad image of the club or selling the bad reputation of the club as it is. Going forward, I feel like, again, to Rob's point, there should be a conversation that needs to be held between Lukaku and the coach, which I guess in today's game, Tuchel made mention of it, saying that he's going to have a talk with him. So let's see what that conversation turns out to be, and hopefully it turns out to be something good. But if it's going to be a case where consistently it's like a power struggle, and he keeps coming out being disrespectful towards the team, and then it's time for letting him go. Yeah. We don't have time to waste.
Yeah,
I completely think he just wants to be out, because Lukaku, you're 28 years old, okay? You've been a professional since you were 16 years old. Now, if you feel like, the coach is not playing you and you feel like you should be in that squad, why wouldn't you go to the coach directly and talk to the coach? Because according to Tuchel, you would never ever think Lukaku has an issue, right? He said he's always happy around the players and everything. So clearly, if you feel uncomfortable with how things are going, why don't you have a conversation? Why don't you have a conversation with the coach directly, but then pull this off? I really think he wants to leave. He just feels like, the system doesn't fit him, and he just wants to leave. That's what I personally think. I don't think he has to do it. Him putting pressure on the on the team or the coach per se. I think he just wants to be out, and that's it. Because Lukaku, you've been a professional for 16 years old. For 16 years, since you were 16 years. Don't you know that if you have an issue with a coach or the style of player, you go to the coach and talk to the coach directly? Come on. I just feel like he wants to be out. And as we've been saying, he's not loyal to any club. So
just 3 months in, he already got to be out. I mean, I don't think he's trying to get out, because I do believe that he was genuine about him staying and all that stuff. But I mean, we'll see where this goes. But question, Rob, do you think it was as a coach, what would you do? Do you think Tuchel handled it the right way of not even having him on the bench, just straight up not on the team sheet at all? Like, do you think that was the right approach for today's game? Or would you be like, listen, we've spoken, because he did say he's spoken to the player. When I saw Tuchel's interview today, it seemed like everything is like good. He's spoken about it and stuff. That's what it sounded like. But then again, obviously, if everything was okay, he would have been started. But like, you know what I mean? Like, do you think that was the right approach? Because honestly, for Chelsea to be in the title race, albeit very slim, we have to win this game. And in this game, you could tell like he would have made a big difference if he was in the game. Like, do you think that was the right approach Tuchel took?
I mean, I don't know if it was the right approach. I guess time will tell. I see it either two ways. Either Tuchel is putting his foot down and showing that he's making a power move too, and letting him know that like the club is backing him and he's the coach and he makes the decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Or it was more of a, I don't want any of the distractions today, the media and the fans, and we just want to focus on today's game. It's an important game and we need to win this game. So I see it either going either way. Either it was a power move by Tuchel and things could get worse, or it was a decision that they both talked about it, and he said, look, I think it's best if you take your time to clear your head, and we kind of leave this out. This is a big game. It's about the team more than about you, so let's leave you out and focus on today's game. So I guess time will tell what it was, but I can see it being either or,
Evan, what did you think?
I agree with Rob to some extent. However, I also feel like at this point it was a matter of basically just put him on the bench so that he just clear his mind, because there's a case where the fans are already upset at you, and coming into a big game like this, and whenever you get a first touch on your ball, the fan starts to boo you, it's going to ruin your entire season automatically. So I think he was just doing it to like kind of protect them to some extent, because like the closing remarks from today's game was like, oh, this is from Tuchel, we're going to have the discussion closed doors. So that means that he still has like a pep talk to have with him, try to like give him to understand like, listen, it's about the team and not about you. And if you're going to be part of this team, you need to follow what I'm trying to tell you. And let's see how that turns out to be. If it turns out to be good, great. If again, we're still in a position where he's still not trying to cooperate and be part of a team and still feels quote unquote unhappy, then I think in the summer we should let him go. I don't want it to be a case where we're building a project and then we're trying to include like pieces to it that they don't really think that they deserve, or they don't think that they fit within the team. It doesn't make sense.
Thiago.
I think that was the right call from Tua, because, I mean, you can't just go out and disrespect him like that. So he feels like he's the boss of the team, and he had to make that decision. Did it go well? You guys drew. I don't know if that's what you guys expected. You guys expected to win the game. With Lukaku in the game, definitely that would have been a much bigger difference. But, he's the boss of the team, and he made a decision. He made the right call, I think. I mean, you can't just go out.
He showed that he's no nonsense ever since he's come.
Because now, sorry. Because
I mean,
Tuchel
has told that he's a no nonsense coach. So ever since he's come in,
he's not going to tolerate that, because you can't disrespect him, right? You see him every day. You never have a conversation with him and go around talking about you don't like the style of play. No, you can't disrespect him like that. I think it was a good move. I mean, you guys didn't lose the game. If Lukaku was in the game, for sure, you guys might have won the game, but he's the boss, and sometimes you have to let the players know that you're in charge. So I think it was a good move. You guys didn't lose the game, so I think it was a good move. Now moving forward, is that going to continue? I don't know. I hope not, but because he's one of the best players in your team. So
Yeah, but
I mean,
Tuchel have shown. I'm telling you, Tuchel have shown that even when Lukaku was healthy, like he will bench you.
that's what
Like
exactly.
he's that guy. So I don't even
He
know if
doesn't really
next
care
game he will
exactly.
just be
So
straight in the lineup. But
I
you know what's interesting, Yaga. Before I go, you know what's interesting? The reason why I think there's so many games coming that he might have to play him because we have like a game every 3 days for the whole month. It seems like so we're gonna have to like play the whole squad, and especially when Werner is out, and then I mean, Reece James is out. Like the squad is getting very thin, right? So he may have to be forced to play the guy.
Tua has a big, a big shoe to fill at this point. So he has to make the right decision for the team.
Yeah.
If he's winning without Lukaku, nobody will care about Lukaku. If he's not winning without Lukaku, then that is pressure on him as well. So let's see how this pans out. I don't know.
All right, well, we'll see. And the good thing about it is we're gonna find out because the games just keep coming, and we'll see what the next few games. There's gonna be a lot of pressure on him for sure because he needs to start performing. And listen, if he starts banging in the goals, fans are not gonna complain. All right, we're gonna cheer him.
Of course.
We're all gonna be happy. But if he comes back and he messes up, that's when the case will be even worse. But we'll see.
And Jeff, the interesting thing, right? Now, for the past 2 games he played, he scored 2 goals, right?
Yeah,
so
that's the
timing
problem.
is just so wrong.
Yeah,
of them releasing
just
that
when
sentence.
he's getting, he's back from injury and he's getting
exactly.
Going, yeah.
So you've scored 2 games in a row, and then this comes out. It's just a mess, man. It's just a mess. But let's see what happens.
It's not as big of a